Okay, guys, so this video here is about showing you some of the Labquest data, applications, and methods you can use for Vernier Labquest probes for AP Environmental Science. So Vernier has really branched out. If you have been using Labquests, maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, the Vernier probes, they were awesome, but they usually needed some sort of interface, kind of like how in this picture is required. So there's actually different ways you can use that, and I wanted to show you some of the options that are available. So I want to begin by showing you kind of the old school way first, right? So we're going to start by showing you the actual LabQuest and how to use that, okay? So I'm going to switch over to my camera here. And so this is a LabQuest 2. It's upside down, but the screen flips depending on whatever it is you're trying to see. So let me get that cord out of your way. And so right now I have a GoDirect sensor plugged in via USB. So the good thing is these sensors can be connected. So a GoDirect sensor is actually pretty cool. I'm going to show you how that works in a bit, but I'm going to unplug for a moment. And so this is a stainless steel temperature probe. It is on right now, and you think to yourself, well, it's not really connected to anything, but it's a Bluetooth device. So this device can be connected to anything that is that's got Bluetooth technology and the correct application. Now, the LabQuest I have right here is an older one, so it does not have the Bluetooth technology, but more up-to-date LabQuests, I believe, do have a Bluetooth connector. So you can have these GoDirects and connect them to your LabQuest without any cords required. Right now I have it plugged in via cord, so when you see the numbers here for temperature that are being read, they are being read through the cord. Okay, so if I disconnect this either from one end or the other of the cord, then I will no longer be getting any data because this is not connected via Bluetooth. Okay, so that is the first way. Now I want to connect right now a sensor that's not a GoDirect. So the one I'm going to connect is a soil moisture sensor. This is one you could use if you're going to do your soil tests, like how we were doing this week, and we were getting data on that. Um, or you may use this for eco columns as well. So if you're going to be doing an experiment with eco columns and you want to check the moisture of your columns, then you can do so with these. So this is a soil moisture sensor. This has, it's an old school connection. It's not a USB connection, so these can't be connected directly to your computer. They have to be connected to a LabQuest or to a TI calculator with the adapter for that LabQuest, right? So what's cool about this is you can take this out in the field and you can do soil moisture tests anywhere. So right now it's reading a negative number because it's not currently in the soil, so it's not getting anything. Now, if I were to put this in my bag of soil from yesterday, right? So I have my bag of soil that we collected, and if I were to put this in here, it's going to give me a reading once I actually stick it into the soil. So I'm going to put that in there, and the soil moisture is 3.3, and you see how it still continues to fluctuate? That tends to be kind of a pain, right? Well, the good thing is that these LabQuests have the ability to graph while you're out in the field. Okay, so if you see right here on the side, it's got time-based, 1 sample per second, 90 seconds. If you tap on that with the actual pointer, okay, or with your finger, either way it works, you can change those settings. So if I don't want to do a full 90 seconds, I'd like to cut this down to 15 seconds, just for our purposes right now. Okay? And I want to do a total number of, so at this point it'll collect me 16 samples at 1 sample per second. I'm okay with that. Or you can change it from time-based to events with entry, selected events. You can also work a photo gate, a spectrum, chromatograph, drop counting data matrix. So I'm going to keep it time-based to make it simple. Okay. And so once you've got that entered in, you hit OK. And now at this point, my numbers have changed. So I'm getting 1 sample per second. I'm going to get 16 samples because it's going to mark one at the beginning and then the 15 after that. Okay. Now, so to get this going, I can look at it from my graph here, or I can look at it from the main page and it'll take me automatically to the graph. So if I press play on the bottom, Okay, it's going to start taking that and look at the moisture and get it down during this 15-second interval. So as you see right now, it's a little hard to see, but it is collecting data and it is drawing the line as we go. Okay, so um, we'll get that done. Looks like it's almost over with, and now it is finished. So if I can get it out of the light a bit. Okay. That's a little bit hard to see on the document camera. But here's the cool thing. These older LabQuests still come with Wi-Fi. So I have opened up over here a Labquest Viewer program. This can be downloaded from your from Vernier at no cost, and as long as you have a Wi-Fi connected LabQuest. So if you see on my document camera over here again, it's not showing very good. The graph is on here. This one right here is directly connected to this LabQuest, and I can actually work the LabQuest from here. So I'm going to make it a little weird and show two windows at a time. But as you can see, here's our LabQuest. Now, let's say I want to go back to the meter and see what it's reading. I'm in charge of that LabQuest from my computer. So this is the cool thing. You can actually have several LabQuests. As long as they're all connected to the same Wi-Fi source, you can have several LabQuests controlled at the same time. So let's say I want to change things. So if I want to zero the meter, if I want to set it up, you can also calibrate or change units if you're using like temperature, which I'll show you in a bit. But I am now in control of this. So everything that I see on my screen on the left is happening to the LabQuest. So if you have kids who are confused and they're like, I don't know how to enter in the data for the graph, can you help me? You can literally bring theirs up and you can show them how to do it, or you can do it for them. Okay. All it needs to do is be connected to the same Wi-Fi. So right now it's on my network. It is sharing data. The viewer is on, and I don't have an email set up for it, but it is currently set up. So that is one way that you can do it. So you can actually work the LabQuest out in the field like this. If you bring in the source of your testing, you can test it in class and have the kids share their LabQuest with you, and you can run it that way. Okay. So this is a really cool thing. I have many probes that I would recommend for this. Some of the probes that are not GoDirect are going to be your soil moisture sensor. Others that are not currently GoDirect are going to be UV sensors, so UVB, okay, UVA, okay, and then I do believe they do not have currently an oxygen sensor. I might have to check that out to make sure. But so these sensors are put in um, through Vernier, and also a humidity sensor. This one is not something that they have as well. So all of those sensors are usable, but they have to be used with an old school LabQuest. They cannot be used with a with a cancel that. They cannot be used with your app, which I will show you in just a second. Okay, so that's the cool thing, is you can share the files with that as well. Okay, now here's the downside. This viewer only works if you have the old school LabQuest, or not old school, but the LabQuest 2. Okay, so this viewer cannot connect directly to your sensors. Okay, so we're gonna minimize this and bring this one back up. Now, let's say you don't want to purchase this. This is, I think, a $300 purchase or more, and your school does not have the funds for it. Okay, it's not something that your school is able to do. They're expensive. You want to have at least one per group of four. So if you got a class of 28, you're looking at 7 or 8 LabQuests all at once. That's kind of a bummer. You don't want to be doing that, and it's very expensive, right? So the best way to do this, and you see I've unplugged, so now I'm offline and it's not there. The best way to do this is to purchase GoDirect sensors on their own. Okay, GoDirect sensors can be used using an app called Graphical Analysis. So I'm going to switch over to my iPad, and you're going to be able to see this right now. So I'm going to move this out of the way for now. Okay. And now we're going to use the app. So this is the Graphical Analysis app. So this is my iPad. I also have the app on my phone, and I can read them both at the same time. So here's the thing you can do. Right now, I have a temperature sensor that is still on. Okay. And right now, I can set it up to sensor data collection right now. So if you look at it, it's reading and it's going to read right there. See how it says GDX TMP? That's my GoDirect temperature sensor. Okay. And so now I'm connected. And so I hit done. And now I have this. The only downside is this is not like the Labquest. So you can see right here, I'm connected to the sensor and I can change the units. So let's say I want to go American style and go to Fahrenheit, or if I'm in chemistry and I want to look at it in Kelvin, I can. Okay. So now the probe is still reading like normal, but it is now reading that it's 85 degrees in my garage. So it's a little warm right now, probably because I was holding the sensor. So I'm going to give it a few minutes, and I can do the same thing that I did with the LabQuest on here. The only downside is there's no interface that just shows the numbers like your typical LabQuest does. So you have to look at it down here in the corner. But I can change the way I collect the data. So just like the LabQuest, I'm going to adjust this. So I want to do time-based. I don't want to do 180 seconds. I want to end my collection at 15 seconds, just like the other one. Okay, that's a change. So I want to end that at 15 seconds. And so it's going to automatically change. And I don't want to do zero point 0.5 samples. I want to do just one sample per second. Okay. So I'm going to change that up here and go to 1 and then hit return. And so now I've got one sample per second. And I'm going to be reading for 15 seconds. So at this point, now all I have to do is hit collect and it will start to gather this information for me. So if I hit collect, I'm holding on. My probe is, not connected to anything currently. It's just sitting here, but I'm going to hold on to it, and we're going to see our graph change just a bit in these next few seconds. Just a bit, a little bit higher. Okay, as I hold on to the probe, and then boom, I'm done. Okay, and so now it's collected that data for me, and so you think to yourself, okay, great, I got data. What do I do with it? What's the big deal? Okay, so at that point, now that you've got your data, you can then use this to change your presentation, move it a little around, and then you can adjust it and you can view some stats. Okay, this also can be done on the graph of the LabQuest. I'll show you in a bit what I'm talking about, but you can view the statistics on here. And so for this line, we can see the minimum, the maximum, the mean, the number of samples, standard deviation. And that's definitely something you want to do because these probes tend to fluctuate. Like right now, if I were out here in the field and I wanted to write down the temperature, I could say, well, it's 84.4, but it's dropping because I'm no longer holding it, right? So that's something that you want to keep in mind. So this is what the kids would need. They need an iPad or a phone with Bluetooth, and then they would need to have the GoDirect sensor. And these are not expensive. These I actually believe only run you about $89. Whereas the ones that connect run you about $89 or $90 as well. So it's up to you what you like to do, but I highly, highly consider these. So they have really great sensors as well. Some of the ones that I have a GoDirect pH sensor. Okay. I also have a GoDirect dissolved oxygen, which is an awesome, awesome sensor that never needs calibration. As long as you keep it moist, then you're good to go. And then I also recommend the GoDirect energy sensor as well here. So this energy sensor has a couple of clamps. You can connect this, and I mean, you can use it for physics as well, but you can connect this to a solar panel that they have a contract with something called KidWind, and you can use this to measure energy output from this solar panel. And if you want to get really creative, you can connect it and make it into a vehicle, or see if you can power a light bulb. How much can you get from this? From this probe. As long as you have the GoDirect energy sensor to connect it to the solar panel, you'll be good to go, right? And that's what's happening live. And the great thing about these GoDirect sensors, let's say you end up going back to your school and you found there's a bunch of these probes in a closet somewhere, right? In a closet, somebody had never used them, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we have a bunch of these LabQuest 2s." Well, here's what you can do with that. You can actually plug in, as I showed you at the beginning, these same probes into the Labquest. So right now it's still reading my soil moisture, but it's saying I'm disconnected. They also have just one USB port, okay? And in that USB port, okay, um, they can connect a GoDirect sensor. So if you have the more up-to-date one, and so it's asking me, do I want to keep this data or discard? I can keep it. They do have some storage on there, and you can save it and then upload this to the graphical analysis app, or to the graphic or to a computer, and then have them look at that. Or I'm just going to discard for right now. And now I'm reading temperature just like I was earlier. So now I'm connected, but I'm still reading it. And again, just to show you, as I mentioned earlier, we are still connected to the Labquest Viewer. So everything we see here is what is being seen on the screen. Okay. So, and I can do the same thing. I'm going to change this to change my units to Fahrenheit. Okay. Just because. And then I don't want to go a whole 180 seconds. I want to go just my 15 seconds. Okay. And you can actually type this out. I'm not typing on the LabQuest. I'm typing on my computer to do this. So if you're not happy with the interface, you can do that as long as you're connected via the LabQuest Viewer. And so now it's changed automatically, but I'm going to change my rate to 1 sample per second. Okay. And so now I go. I'm ready to go. Okay. So I'm at 83.9. It's reading because it's close to my hand. I'm going to try to get away from that, see if I can let it go down a bit. But then I go over here to my graph, and then I can run the data. So I'm at run number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it here. And so for these next few seconds, okay, it's going to be going slightly higher because it's in my hand. And you're seeing it live on the LabQuest and on the viewer. And as we go from here, what I do like about this is it changes the scale on your graph, so it looks you can actually see the change much better. And then along here, you can tap on the circles, and it'll give you the points. Okay, well, at that moment, at 6 seconds, it was 84.9. At 12 seconds, it was 87.1. And by the end, my last data point, it was 88.1. Okay. Now, and again, you want to run the stats on this because there was obviously some change in this short time. You would then go to analyze, I believe, statistics, and you can hit on temperature there, and on the side you get the same information as you did on the graphical analysis app. Okay, and then you can also do another couple things. You can do a curve fit for temperature, and it'll put it on there. And you can choose the fit. So I'm going to go with linear. I want to see what that looks like. Or maybe I want to go with natural logarithm. See what's going on here, right? And it'll give you the equations and the information you need to know. So if you really want to get much more intense with your kids, by all means, you can. These are not required for the AP exam, but it is a nice way to let them see, okay, well, here's how things are changing. And then so we'll cancel, or actually we'll leave that as a linear fit, and it'll now show up on my graph. And then what's cool too is I can then export this, okay? And so if I insert a USB, I can export this file, I think is a QML or something similar, and that can be read through Excel. So they can go from there. You can export it to text, and so on. So there's lots of different cool things. You can email it, right? Right now I don't have any email set up, but I can do the data file, the graph, or even email the screenshot. Okay, so and it's not set up for this device because on my Wi-Fi I have not put that on there. So I can put my email in the settings, and then I can have it do that as well. So that is something that is possible. So definitely something you want to think about and look at. I'm not personally paid by Vernier, but as I mentioned, for all my APSI participants this summer, they have promised that you can get a $100 gift certificate for filling out your information with me. So that is something that can be done. So at the very least, you can at least try one of these probes and get a GoDirect probe. So unfortunately, the one I would really love for you all to have is the GoDirect dissolved oxygen. That is an awesome one to have out in lab. And you see how they don't have any connection there on that picture? That means that is a more up-to-date LabQuest that has Bluetooth. But if you could afford it or have the school purchase it, this is by far the one you definitely need. Okay, because Go Direct, they're awesome. You don't want to get the general regular. You have to make sure it's the optical. If you just get the dissolved oxygen probe, that one needs to have a membrane changed and be calibrated, and it's a very big pain. But the optical dissolved oxygen probe is expensive, number one, but it is cool because it never has to be changed out. As long as you keep it in a spongy, moist container, you're good to go. And then you just stick it in the water beyond this. There's a dotted spot, I think, on these, and you'll be able to go from there. But there are other probes that you can purchase for under $100. So if I can show you here, products, you can shop all of them. But the ones you really want are the sensors. Okay. And there are many products that you can get that are under $100 with that gift certificate. So you can get a pH sensor, an temperature sensor, the energy sensors as well. So you can see the probes here. So the GoDirect temperature probe, that one, they have different options depending on what you want. If you're going to use the more intense chemistry ones, they go all the way to $600. So um, that's up to you if you are also teaching AP chemistry or an organic lab of some sort. But they have several options. Okay, and depending on what options you have, the price will change. But for us, it's a single sensor, or you can get the whole pack. But one sensor is $69. So with the $100 gift certificate, you should be able to use that for your purposes. It's definitely one that's worth it. Let me see if we can show you some other ones. So they do have CO2 sensors, right? They have a gas pressure sensor if you're teaching some chemistry with that. They have pH sensors. Theirs is $89, so that's one that you can purchase as well. They do have SpectraVis that are expensive if you're teaching bio. Conductivity is a probe that I definitely recommend. Um, and then they do have the O2 sensor. That's a little cheaper as well. So you can use that for respiration in your eco columns. Um, the optical dissolved oxygen probe is $298, as we saw. There's the light and color sensor. This is one that I'm going to get a set of this year. These light sensors, they can supplant or they can replace the old school UVA, UVB connector ones. They do have a little sensor on there that have UVA and UVB. Okay. They have magnetic field sensors, sound sensors. Um, they do have, there's the energy sensor again, respiration belt, EKG, drop counters, surface temperature. That's a good one to use if you're wanting to do labs with, heat island activities. So, and then the ion selected probes, these are the ones that are more expensive, but these are awesome. If you're teaching chemistry or you want to do some really in depth water quality, chloride, potassium, calcium are good ones. And what's cool is you can unscrew these and you can put them on different sensors themselves to charge. Other ones that are important here, let's see. There's a nitrate one. That'd be an awesome one to use as well. And you could actually use this to replace soil test kits. If you wanted to get real numbers for the ions, you could replace your soil test kit and check nitrates by that and actually get a real number. You just need to mix your soil with water and go from there. So that's an easy one to do. And then, so there are many options if you're looking for something under $100. So with that, that's something I definitely recommend. There's a soil moisture sensor. That's an old school one. Magnetic field, old school light sensors, the old school gas sensors. Conductivity probe is definitely one I recommend. They also have a turbidity sensor. There's the pH sensor that gets to be plugged into the old Labquest. So there are many, many options that you can use to purchase these. I would highly recommend revisiting those, taking a look, and seeing what you like. An anemometer, that's for wind. I did have one of those for a while. And so, depending on what you're looking for, there's lots of stuff out there. And I would highly recommend, if your school has the budget, to look at these, and because there are so many applications, not just for your subject, not just for AP environmental, but for physics and chemistry. both AP and general and pre-AP as well. And so there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can use. It's just a matter of making sure that you kind of cater it. And they do have packages for environmental science, AP biology, and so on. You just need to kind of peruse and see those packages. You can get them for much larger cost, but of course, if your school has a contract and can deal with them, then you'll get quite a bit extra from that. So I hope that's helpful, and I highly recommend it, at the very least, to try it out. And then before I do sign off on this one, they do also make lab manuals. So depending on your subject, I have right here a renewable energy with Vernier that you can use using the energy sensors and solar panels. They also have a Kid Wind set that you can use with little wind turbines and measure the output there. So definitely something to consider. They have an environmental science one, and these are now getting more and more up to date. So definitely a resource that any APES teacher I would highly recommend.